Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
Very unfortunately, as we said again, and you all were present when we experimented with the issue with Dr. Rosemary Chika Ilechukwu from Nigeria, but suddenly she will be back soon and eventually will be our third presenter. In the meantime, we are now very happy to welcome Kalumba Morgan from Zambia. Kalumba is a master of geography, and his presentation is certainly going to be in the area of geography, innovative ideas. Welcome, Kalumba Morgan.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Bausi, and thank you so very much, Dr. Lambert. I'll ask you, Dr. Lambert, to assist me with the slides if I start to speak, which will be very kind of you. I'm very privileged to be one of the presenters at this year's AIU 2022 Symposium, Innovative Ideas. I've been a student of AIU. Thank you so much, Dr. Lambert. We'll be presenting on some of the innovative ideas to do with the water and sanitation. So my presentation, I'll start with the introduction. All right. So on my introduction, the case study that I did research on, it was to do with one of the shanty compounds here in Zambia, which is called the Makololu. Now, Makololu is one of the largest unplanned shanty compounds in Zambia. It is a compound which was mainly set up by the government then to help people who were retiring from various mining companies in this country, as well as other government departments, to settle there so that they could become relevant to society. So the government decided to create this place, and they were able to settle people from the Copper Belt, which is one of the biggest areas where mining is done. So the compound we are talking about is located about 3 kilometers from the central business area. It is situated on the western side of what is known as the Kabwe town. But this town was called the Broken Hill Mine. These French workers actually were able to settle there, and this compound has mushroomed. It has become so big that it has contributed to the increase of poor sanitation. Now, this has been the reason why innovative ideas should be coming so that the people of Makololu can be helped to see how best they can be able to access good water and sewerage problems. Now, I want to discuss or talk about first what is water in general. We all know that water is essential to life, and water is one of the most important requirements, all right, of life, as 93% of our bodies is composed of fluids. So you find that the way the body is made in such a way that for it to function well, it needs a lot of fluids. In fact, most of the times, even when it comes to people that may be told to have not enough blood, normally what happens to their bodies is that the body itself has lost a lot of fluid. So a human body is made in such a way that 93% of it is composed of fluids. So what we are saying is that if a man uses contaminated water, this can cause diarrheal diseases, diseases such as cholera, diseases such as dysentery, and many other diseases that are associated with cholera. It is in this vein, therefore, that it becomes imperative for everyone to take a close examination on the type of water that people should consume in order to prevent outbreak of such cases. So what this simply means is that, yes, for people to be able to live healthy lives, there is need to take stock of what type of water that people are drinking. Is it contaminated, or is it water that is clean so that these diarrheal diseases are prevented? Okay, that is about water in general. Now, we want to look at sanitation, since we're talking about water and sanitation. So I was just briefly talking about water. Now I want to talk about sanitation in general. Dr. Lambert, you can go to the next slide. We've just looked at the introduction already. We've looked at water in general, but now I want to talk about sanitation in general. Yes, when we talk about sanitation, we're talking about good health that a normal human being should be able to live. So good health and living of man all lies on good sanitation. Now, what this means is that poor sanitation brings about pollution of air. Contaminated water, therefore, which eventually will result in outbreaks of diseases. So if a person has to be able to live a good life, then he must be able to have good water and good sanitation. Therefore, to prevent outbreak of air and water, borne diseases, there is need for each government, be it the local systems, they must be able to sensitize people. So a sensitization program should be undertaken on how people should dispose of their garbage and dump the waste materials. As you can see from the picture there, you can see that, yes, people are just drawing water from, unclean surroundings. Now, that kind of water really contaminates and brings about diseases such as dysentery and cholera. So then there is need for governments to embark on a sensitization program so that the people or the masses are aware of how they can be able to attain clean water, able to not to dispose of their garbage and dump the waste materials anyhow. Good. So that is about good health and living of man, which lies on good sanitation. Now we want to talk about water and sanitation as pillars of good health. Possibly, Dr. Lambert, you can go to the next slide so that you follow me as I make this presentation. I just now want to talk about water and sanitation as pillars of good health. I've already talked about water in general. I've now talked about sanitation in general, but then this time now I want to talk about water and sanitation as pillars of good health. Now, One thing that we should know is that good health is brought about by living in a clean environment. This is very, very important. If we are going to have good health, then it should be something that should be brought about by people living in clean environment, and not only living in clean environment, but at the same time drinking clean water. This is very, very important. Now, good sanitation, what does it do? Yes, good sanitation does promote health living to people, which eventually results in good health. That is very, very important. Hence, the study of this nature is very important to help in promoting good living standards of people in the community. So if we are going to have good water and sanitation, then what this simply means is that there must be a deliberate policy that promotes a healthy kind of living of people, which must result in good health. That is about water and sanitation as pillars of good health. If we move on to the next slide, you will find there now that what is it that makes people not to live in good health surroundings? One of the things is education standards. You'll agree with me that most people, especially in this part of the continent where I am in Zambia, in particular in Makololu, the compound that I'm talking about, most of the people are not very educated. Now, what this simply means that about 15% have gone to school, quite right, as far as tertiary education is concerned, and only about 25% have gone up to primary level, and only 40% have not gone to school. So what it means is that the education standards of people has contributed to poor water and sanitation. The reason being that the majority of people have not had access to education. But thanks to the new government, which has introduced free education from grade 1 to grade 12. That is from primary to secondary education. So the new government has seen the need of promoting education for all. And this will probably help in making people have access to knowledge which will empower them to promote good water and sanitation. So as we look at good education, as you can see from the pie chart there, the pie chart which is going to help us to see just how education standards in this part has been worrisome. You can see from the chart there, the bigger part there is where most of the people have not been able to access education. And you can see the one on the top left there. It represents how many people have had access to primary education. Like I mentioned, that only about 40% have not been to school, but only 25% have primary level education. Then the next middle there, which is the green color, that shows the people that have had access to secondary education. So what we are saying is that, yes, education standards of the people must be improved in order for them to be able to have access to good water and sanitation. So on the bar chart there, the bar graph below, it represents the percentages of people in occupation. All right. So for instance, most of the people that live in this area are businessmen. And that's why you can see that about 60% of the population are involved in informal employment. Is it businesses where they are able to fend for themselves and be able to send their children to school? And then the blue one there, that bar chart there represents those that are in formal employment. But those that are in the informal sector is quite not very much. Those who have been able to access ways and means of how they can be able to survive. So you can see that indeed there is need for the government and the local authorities to do much in order to help people come to have access to education, which will help them to actually promote good living and healthy standards. Now, what is the source of water in this area? The source of water in this area has been a big concern. As you can see, most of the households in the compound are not connected to piped water system. But as a fact, the pipes in most of the areas, the pipes are blocked and no water normally comes out of the taps. Some of those that were laid down, meaning that 60% of the residents have dug wells within their surroundings, and 30% are the only households who are supplied with tap water, and 10 minimal to say have boreholes. So you can see that the source of water has been also a contributing factor to poor health and also to water and sanitation. So there is need, therefore, for the government to embark on a massive infrastructure of making sure that much of the area is connected to piped water. And thanks again to the new government, this project has been embarked on, where now most of the areas are being promoted to have good water systems. The other thing that I talked about was things to do with the education and many other aspects. But one other thing that I want to talk about is if you look at the pie chart below there, it represents the source of water that I've been talking about. The larger part there, the one in gray, represents much of the water being done through or being sourced through boreholes, wells. And then only small percentage have got boreholes. And then the piped water is also becoming promoted. So we are very grateful to the government for promoting or coming up on board and embark on this massive infrastructure. Now, what has been the disposal of garbage in the compound? Because this is one of the things that has also contributed to poor health standards in this part of Zambia. Yes, when you look at the way garbage is disposed in the compounds, it leaves much to be desired. I think this has been a problem, not only to people in Makololu, but also to most parts of the country. I think the way we look at garbage has not been very good. So the compound has no dumping sites. And people therefore dig shallow rubbish pits in their backyards. They dump their garbage on the road and on unfinished or plots that have not been completed. So you can see that indeed, this is a very big problem. Almost all the houses in Makololu compound are not connected to the sewage system. And this has created a very big problem. There are almost no homes with flushable toilets. And since there are no flushable toilets, the compound has actually been affected. About 95% of the households, they use pit latrines. And the remaining percentage are those with boreholes who have their own disposal tanks. So you can see that the way garbage and other things have been used leaves much to be desired. So what are the measures to address sanitation in Makololu? Some of the measures that need to be done is with the help of the RDCs, these are the Rural Development Committees. The compound has been divided into small number of households in groups, which are called zones. These are being brought on board to help in administering the people in this compound. So people have restored and disposed them out. And so through the RDCs, there is more pipe water being installed, and the area is becoming quite friendly, that people are able to have access to piped water. So that is one of the things that the government has done to help the people in this compound, is by bringing up these rural development committees, which have divided the number of households into groups, and they have created areas where people are able to access water. Yes. Now, what are the measures that have been addressed? Measures to address sanitation in Makololu. Yes, with the help of the RDC, the compound has been divided into small numbers of households, as I mentioned, called zones, to help in administering the compound, and people have resorted and disposed them out. And so through the RDCs, there is more piped water being installed. So in conclusion, what am I saying? In conclusion, I'm saying that Makololu Shanti compound needs a serious water and sewerage company, like Lukanga Water and Sewerage Company, which has come on board to relieve the residents from the hell of hazards which they are going through. Water and sewerage pipes should be introduced now. And so living in a clean environment is a cry of everybody now. And so the majority, if not all the residents of Makololu, are not living in good and clean environments. Now, what are some of the recommendations? What is it that should be done? Knowing that there is much that needs to be done in order to help the people of this area to have access to clean water and sanitation. So some of the things that should be done, according to my opinion, is that in order to solve the water and sanitation problems in Makololu Shanti compound here in Zambia, the local authorities, especially the local authorities, should come on board and help in constructing water and sewerage pipes. And so the government, through the councils or the council, should construct good drainage in the compound, clear the garbage heaps, especially in areas for recreation. This will go a long way. Yes, Makololu is a beautiful shanty compound if maintained to its expectation. Now, lastly, what I can say is that having good recreation grounds, street lights, and good drainage would improve the living standards of the residents, and this could make the compound a haven of peace and tranquility. This ends my presentation.
Thank you very much, Kalumba Morgan from Zambia. I would like to ask Dr. Lambert to close this presentation so that we can eventually see the hand that are going to be raised to ask questions. Thank you very much, Dr. Lambert. Let me remind our students that Kalumba Morgan is a master of geography. He's from Zambia, and his presentation was mostly about water and sanitation. And within the context of what he was saying, water and sanitation are very, very critical, important components to promote good, acceptable living standards. And that is everywhere on Earth, everywhere on our planet. Here in the United States, where Untitled International University is, we are privileged and blessed to have what I would call excellent water and sanitation systems, but in some rural areas, not too many of them, this issue is also present. So it is something that can be experimented everywhere on planet Earth. And that's why this Master of Geography from Zambia, Kalumba Morgan, made his presentation about water and sanitation that are to be improved in order to have the same outcome or results for the living standards of every other human on Earth. But of course, Kalumba Morgan focused very particularly on an area of Zambia, which is Makololu, the largest unplanned shanty compounds in Zambia, where the conditions are to whatever extent deplorable if we are to interpret what he was saying. But finally, he said that it is an obligation that everybody can pitch in order to help the population of Makololu to enjoy this kind of living standards with water and sanitation that can be at an acceptable level. That is in Makololu. But not only is an obligation of the government of Zambia or stakeholders in Makololu to just join in this campaign to resolve the problem of water and sanitation in that area, but everywhere else, and people should do whatever they can in order to contribute to this betterment of life for the people. Now, we are waiting for questions, as we want to first compliment and congratulate Kalumba Morgan for a presentation that is very, very fundamental, because again, whatever we do in life, regardless of the areas of our expertise, we've got to, pitch in anything that we can do to help alleviate people's lives everywhere on planet Earth. So thank you very much, Kalumba. Congratulations on the job.
Hello, Dr. Abelson.
Yes, Dr. Lambert.
There's a question. How many people are living in the compound?
Kalumba?
Okay. Yes. Right now, the number of people that are living in that compound is close to 300,000.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a big compound, 300,000 people. That's a big compound. Let me see if there are any city in the US with that low population, but it is, if we're looking at just one compound, that's a big population. Anyway, the floor is now open to you, ladies and gentlemen, for your questions, beginning with Herman Bassi. Go ahead, Herman. Your microphone.
Hello, hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, I'm happy to be part of the program.
And also Obadiah is in
that,
Kekwe.
I am Herman Bassi, happy to be part of the program. And I'm happy that Africans are waking up to their responsibility to make sure that they change the way and the life of their communities that they are living in. I'm particularly happy that Mr. Morgan is a rising star in the Makololu compound, and believing that having posed those issues that concerns Makololu compound as to water and sanitation, as I understand, and the mining taking place in Makololu, which is affecting the water, and the dump way and the refuse that is also affecting the environment and water. Happily enough, Makololu compound lives by the riverside, as I could see the geographical area as he shot on the video. And I have discovered that what I want to ask Mr. Morgan, is the mining taking place by government or private sector? That is one. Then if whether government or private sector, being a community, what is needed is to create awareness within the community that this water that we are drinking can cause kidney disease, as we are seeing, because having a tap water, even as they are talking about, is not enough to have a clean water. A tap water is not enough to have a clean water. Here in Nigeria, we have wash boreholes. And you know, these wash boreholes comes out from sands. And these particles, if not filtered, it enters the tank and the people drink it, and their stomach becomes heavy, and the liver cannot filter this water. Then it becomes a problem of kidney. And this is the major part of the problem affecting Makololu. So what I was thinking is that a campaign or awareness should be raised. Makololu should create a campaign mood that can bring about a change. The people should be able to rise and make sure that those miners are stood up to their social responsibility to change the situation, and then make sure that these people are being given clean water as a result of the effect of what is going on.
All right,
access to education,
your responses, Kalumba?
Yeah, yes, please. First and foremost, what the government did, because of the fumes that were coming from one of the mining areas in Kabwe, which was actually pouring the chemical stuff in the air to this compound. The government closed this mine. Unfortunately, some of the private individuals have come up because of greedy. They are trying to mine in small pockets. However, what the government did was to come up with a deliberate policy of tree replanting, so that possibly the environment could be sustained. So now, most of the people have been advised that if they are going to have a clean environment, they should be able to check the way they dispose of their garbage, instead of just leaving things to chance. So the local authority has been able to sensitize the people of how they can be able to contribute by way of helping the authority when constructing these water piped waters. They should be able to guard the infrastructure, because it is not just the local authority that is supposed to take care of it. It is the responsibility of each and every individual, especially people that are in that area, if they are going to have access to good water and sanitation.
Thank you very much, Morgan. You have addressed Eman Bassi's questions in a very, very adequate manner. I hope that's going to be the same for Alanyo Mali, who has his hands up right now for his question. Go ahead, Alanyo.
Thank you so much, Morgan. It was that nice. I'm passionate about water and sanitation. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
My question is, okay, I missed out on the per capita water consumption in Makololu. That is something that would help us as we plan to do more innovations to see what is important for that such a community which is really marginalized. And secondly, I also know that from Uganda, we talk a lot to do with the refugee settlement, which is like relevantly related to Makololu, because we have a population, a part of population which are PWs, people with the disabilities. Is there a specific innovation or support that is given in that? Because bearing in mind that mining as an activity may also lead to that kind of physical damages, that in the end, the outcome is incapacitating this kind of community. So I do not know whether this research you did also captured something to do with these PWs in this community of Makololu.
Okay, thank you very much. I may not have touched much on that, but just to say something about that, people that have access to water in this area is quite minimal. Very few have piped water or water that is drawn from the wells. Attract a number of people that just go there. They pay something to the owners of those water facilities just to have access to water. But of course, with the help of the government has been doing tremendous work. Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you wanted to say something?
I can hear you.
Okay, very good. So
no,
now
I'm hearing you. I'm not.
Okay. To help people with the disability, of course, this is where now the government has come up with the social cash transfers. So this initiative is meant to cushion on the people who are, with the disability and people who are unable to afford, so that they can be helped to see how best they can come up with the, what is known as the cooperatives, where people are grouped together and given some kind of funding and knowledge to help them so that they could be able to expand on that knowledge. So the government is doing its very best, but it also has to do with the people themselves that are receiving such kind of help by the government to be able to also contribute to how they'll be able to promote good water and clean sanitation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kalumba. There are two requests that we would like to ask from our attendees. Number one, if you are not speaking, to either ask a question or make a comment, please keep your microphones off. If 2 or 3 people are having their microphones on simultaneously, this creates an echo, which is an issue for everybody else. We have an issue difficulty to hear very clearly what the one single speaker is saying. Number two, anytime that is possible, sometimes it is not, try to ask only one question. If you have 2 or 3, you can come back at later times so that we can have the maximum of attendees to ask questions that they have written down at the very, very beginning. So this is, of course, part of the innovative ideas, the topic of the symposium of Atlantic International University, as we are now moving to Noel Chirenje. Go ahead, Noel, for your question. Noel? Noel Chirenje, I see your hand up. I am not sure whether you have a question. Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to thank you for this platform that allows us to share the ideas. It seems like this scenario that was shared by the presenter, it seems like it's mostly in rural places. There is a shortage of clean water and poor sanitation. Actually, I mean, when I grew up in Eben, and my primary I did it in Harare, and then I go back to the rural place. Actually, in rural place, you drink water from the river, like the way he said, especially the headsmen and other people who have been experienced that life, actually. I think it's not only Zambia that is, even in Zimbabwe, even if you go to other African countries, this scenario is there actually, even also in our urban areas. I'm right now in South Africa, in a place which is called Witbank. There is a place which is called Coronation. There is a shaky area where there is people are staying there. It was a mine, and then when they shift the mine, people they make it a settlement, their own settlement. Actually, say it's not approved by the government. People are living in a way that you cry sometimes because of the poor sanitization and the shelter that they are living in. So even the water in the Witbank, it's not clean and safe. So this idea actually we have to take it from rural and that's actually. Thank you.
What is your take on that, Kalumba?
Yeah, yes, it's very true. You'll find that yes, this problem is a national-wide problem. Yes, both in the rural areas and also in urban areas, we have such a problem. This research that I took is about Makololu, like I mentioned, is just 3 kilometers from the central business area. You see, in an urban setting, but even then, we have such a bigger problem. Like Noel Chirenji said, yes, it's very, very serious when it comes to the rural areas, because in rural areas, like he mentioned, people just depend on water that runs through the streams or water that is dug just from some small wells. And so you find that even the way they dispose of their affluents, it needs much to be designed. So I think I agree with Chirenji that yes, this problem is not just a Zambian problem, but is a problem that we have here in Africa, and we need assistance from developed countries to come on board to see how much they can assist and help in improving the health and living standards of our people.
All right, thank you very much. We're going for the last question. I do see 2 hands up, but again, there is an issue that I raised earlier about our timeline. We have several presenters, and we unfortunately cannot accommodate everybody. So we are going to Obadia Ezanekwe for your question.
Yes, thank you very much. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes. First of all, I have to thank Dr. Varsin and Dr. Lambert for making it possible for me to participate in this symposium. thank my fellow participants and also the presenters. But one question I have for Kalumba is the observation you made based on your findings, innovative ideas about sanitation, water sanitation. Is there any way you can make it possible for your government to implement your useful findings? I notice you referred to the Sustainable Development Goals, education and health. And your observation is very helpful. But I don't know whether you have access to let the government implement your suggestions. You are not a politician, I think. If you were a politician in the parliament, it might be easy for you. That's the question for Lambert. But I want to make general comment, please, Lambert. I think it's very, very good. AIU has really introduced in our studies reference to the 17th Sustainable Strategic Goals of the United Nations. Very, very helpful. The presenters we've had so far made reference to all these goals. And I believe the study also mentioned in AIU is quite good. That's what I benefited a lot, use of all these goals. Please, is there any way we can let the government in power to lay emphasis on these goals when they are carrying out their legislative functions? The study has shown that presently we have not attained even 49% of the goals, particularly sub-Saharan Africa. And the main reason is the leaders. Most of them are not familiar with the goals. So we're having a problem to implementation. In addition, during the intro by Dr. Fawcett, he mentioned that the new generation people don't even pay attention. They are not helping to make people understand the importance of adhering to these goals. And that is what is helping, is even causing confusion in many organizations. The youths are not obeying any rules relating to new ideas. Efforts are being made by managers, but they are still going on the old-fashioned, old school style. That's what they call us. I don't know how the university will continue to emphasize the need so the graduates will also introduce all this in the operations in various organizations. That's the comment, please. Thank you.
Very, very wonderful idea, Obadiah, isn't it quick? That was actually the last comment about Kalumba Morgan's presentation. Pretty much like you were saying, Obadiah, the governments all over the world ought to intervene in order to resolve the issues that we societies are facing every day. Very unfortunately, there is no specific type of recommendations that we could come up with to ask the governments to implement. And the problem is every society is unique, pretty much like our students at AIU. Every government has its own way to operate, which is a reason if we were to take the United States as an example, and this is an example that is also repeated in some other places around the world. If I, as a single citizen, want the government to intervene in whatever area, I cannot go to the government personally. We have in the United States, we have what we call representative democracy, which means it's not a democracy that goes straight to the people. It's a democracy that is representative. I have to go to either a senator or House member representative to bring up my issue. That member of parliament is the one who has the responsibility to convey my issue, my complaint, or whatever that is, to the executive branch of government.
Yes.
Anyway, this is not the topic for now. I thank everybody who has intervened one way or the other, the presenters and those of you, the attendees who asked questions for your participation. And I commend all of you. Thank you once more, Kalumba Morgan, for a critical topic, the issue of water and sanitation in Makololu in Zambia. We are now ready for Dr. Rosemary